And we're live.
Thanks. Yeah, going around the Jitsi team to give updates at the beginning. Brian, why don't you start?
Sure. So the Ghibli that we were just talking about, that I've been working on the rewrite of for a while now, is pretty close to getting merged. I think we'll get that in sometime this week, definitely. So I'll be writing an email out to the list to talk about that. And that the recording and streaming bits of that are done. There's a web piece I'm going to work on, and then I'll go back to adding the SIP gateway feature of Ghibli. So that'll be next.
Thank you. Lenny, are you on the go?
Yes, I am. I've been working on the toolbar redesign, which you can all see. And I'm still working on it. There's still cleanup and UI tweaks to do there.
Thank you. George?
So just a quick
Yep.
one. Lenny, would you like to talk a little bit about what we just lost?
Okay, I believe you mean how in the previous old toolbars, which were split, it was possible for people to customize where the buttons are in those two toolbars. So you could have the hang up button be either at the top toolbar or the left toolbar. That's no longer implemented. It's no longer implemented mainly because the toolbars got rewritten, and that added a good amount of complexity. Maybe the feature will come back someday, but for me, it's not planned. The other thing that was lost that maybe Emil forgot is the contact list is also gone. The list of participants in the call is no longer available.
And the panels will still be moving to the settings dialog. So profile, and what else was there?
Profile, settings.
Yeah, wasn't there a third one? Actually, yeah, profile plus the settings page will be in the same tab as the device settings. So there'll be 3 tabs in there.
Video quality will likely get moved into the new settings modal as well.
Yeah, thank you, Lenny.
Thank you. Krista?
So not much from my side. There was this issue with the desktop sharing on Firefox. This should be deployed and fixed now. Also, I'm working on deep linking feature, which is gonna be for now probably only a kind of interface that with additional programming you can adapt to like a desktop application to be opened from the browser. Maybe in future we can use this to open Jitsi Meet Electron. But yeah, so this is all from my side.
Thank you. George?
So I have been working on a bundle estimation test bed based on Jitsi Torture. We have incorporated Mahi, which is a packet delivery trace-based network emulation. It emulates different network profiles, and we have been gathering data for Verizon, T-Mobile network profiles last week. We have been we got very mixed results because we were running the testbed on AWS, and it looks like there was a problem with, well, basically you should not run it on AWS. And now this week we're going to move it on a dedicated environment, dedicated hardware to run it again and test more, gather more data for this using this testbed. It's open source. It's on Jitsi Torture. It's just a test case on Jitsi.
Can you talk a little bit more about why it shouldn't be run on AWS? And we are talking about the testbed, just for everyone to be clear, not about Jitsi.
Yes, yeah. So we looked at that on Friday with Brian, and basically the Selenium nodes were having their CPU stolen by other processes. So
yeah, we had the noisy neighbor problem where we had a high steal percentage in top. So this is the CPU attempting to use a cycle and it couldn't.
Aaron, finish.
Aaron described the root cause very precisely. This is what has been happening, and so how that impacted the bandwidth estimation test is not entirely determined yet. But I think because of simulcast, when there is not enough available CPU, I think the client aggressively drops the bitrate much more than when there is no simulcast. So in our bandwidth estimation tests, we compare Chrome to Chrome without simulcast and Chrome to Chrome through the bridge with simulcast. And so by having the CPU stolen at the sender side, on the sender instance, we have a significant drop in the send bitrate. So that makes it appear as if we are severely undersending compared to, when we are in the JVB scenario where I had to present the scenarios actually in order to be able to talk about the problem. So this is a very incomplete description of the problem, but because of the bandwidth drop, the bitrate drop at the sender because of the CPU limitation, the JVB scenario looks like as if it is severely undersending compared to the JVB-less scenario. But yeah, I had to describe the complete test bed in order to better understand what the problem is. But
Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you, George. Boris?
So we're slowly making progress with Octo and the support for multiple bridges in the conference. We're moving to deploying it on beta.me.jit.si where we can test it internally for a while. And last week we received a very timely contribution from Andrei Davidov that allows us to use Octo with a NAT, which was helpful and was something that we needed. So expect to hear more about this in the next weeks, as we've now merged most of the code and we're moving to testing it more successfully.
Thank you. Mobile?
I just want to add a quick one for everyone who's wondering. Octo is our work on supporting large conferences with our numbers of participants. We're currently looking at maybe a couple hundred is our initial goal. And then as the next step, this is a question that came up. We're planning on adding, if necessary, support for a deeper layer of relays that should take us to a very, very significantly larger possible audience. But this is the context of Octo.
Thanks. Yubo? Mobile?
I was just reviewing PR, so I don't have anything of my own. We're planning to create a release of the app. It'd be nice if we managed to create a release of the SDK as well, because we haven't updated it in a long time. Otherwise, I think we worked a bit on picture-in-picture, but this is just cleanup. So if someone happens to be using it in an SDK that they build themselves, which is very unlikely, they may have to change their code, but and we are on the finish lines of Pitch to Zoom for desktop. Pavel, do you want to talk about your work?
Yes, so let me see.
NAT64 is one of them.
Yes, so one of the things was NAT64, which is a thing where if you're on mobile cellular network that is IPv6 only, then on the Jitsi deployments that do not have like built-in IPv6 support, which is that the bridge is not sending IPv6 address, you will not be able to connect to such bridge. So what we're doing is we're figuring out the NAT64 prefix, which allows to convert IPv4 address to IPv6. So we're getting this prefix there and basically converting all the IPv4 candidates to IPv6 addresses so that the client is able to connect. So we added such module to the mobile. Other than that, I added a thing which handles the kicked out event on mobile. So if mobile user gets kicked out, now it will return to the welcome page. Previously it will be just stacked on the spinner and just all weird things can happen. So we still need to add some UI there. So next thing I was fixing was that the participant joined and left sounds were not working in release build because they were not bundled correctly. So now there's PR for that. And other than that, I was just making small progress on the mobile tests. I mean, not mobile, but the hybrid test where you can test both mobile and web at the same time in the single conference. So, and that's all from me.
Yeah, we also have a PR from today which fixes a small issue where like some quarrel between getting permissions and opening a URL in a new app. So just small fixes here and there. Zoli, do you have anything?
Yeah, so besides 3 smaller fixes that's related to welcome stream facelift, calendar sync, and the recent list, I'm now back to Pinch and Zoom. That's in review right now, addressing feedbacks. Should be done, soon. That's it.
Thanks, Ivo. Aaron, you have something?
Yeah, well, mostly I've just been helping to operationalize the Jibris that we're now trying to launch on the Jitsi. So that's pretty exciting. I think that's pretty much the only work that I've been doing that's relevant to this group.
Thank you. Not much updates from my side. I'm still working on adding Safari tests to the PR testing. Hopefully we'll turn them on this week. So that's it. Emil, do you have any updates you want to share?
Nope.
Thank you. So, open mic.
Yeah, hey, I would jump in on that. I only have a couple of minutes left, so I just wanted to say hey, and that I don't know, I'm new, and I do a lot of in-person community organizing sort of thing. I'm super interested in the social dynamics of open source communities and also the things that we can steal things from open source communities to use in my organizing in the city. Run some weekly events for civic half nights, people coming together and work on big projects for the public good. And yeah, anyway, I'm just super psyched about. I've been away from Jitsi for a while, and not using it. I think the Calix Institute used to host an instance that I really trusted, and everything looks amazing. And I just want to say it's so many improvements since I was here last. And I've introduced it to a few distributed groups I'm working with, and they're all really gung ho on seems like no loss to the other guys to use it. So anyway, I just want to say congrats on that. Like, there's so many awesome features here. Yeah, I might keep taking some notes, and I have some feature requests even from this call, just on like how our process, like how the process in the groups that I kind of work with might be facilitated by certain things and access to things. But this looks rad. I just want to say thanks. No questions.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words, and also kudos to you for running your own instances. We really like it when people do that.
Ooh, not doing that yet. I used to, the Calyx Institute, I guess, is a privacy organization that was running one. Yeah, and I was using theirs.
Okay, so, all right, but you're using private Jitsi meet instances as opposed to Jitsi. Is that what you said?
Yes, yeah, and so
okay.
One
well, semi kudos for that then. You'll get the other semi of the kudo once you run your own.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm working on the process, not so much hosting my own infrastructure level yet. Process is super important. These sorts of groups I'm working with. The other thing is, I think an issue got stalled, and I'm not sure how to like help related to getting a Canadian number. Everyone who's in Canada can't really. Right now, they still have a huge reason to favor Zoom because there's only American call-ins and Canadians that dial long distance. So if that's a small thing, it would be really appreciated. And if I can help in any way, I'm happy to. Even if it's just documenting the process for the next person who's wondering about a new number.
Well, we'll take a note and we'll let you know. I actually thought that it's actually pretty cheap for Canadians to go use numbers, but mistaken. So
it's like sometimes included, sometimes not, and depending on people's like means and income, it's sometimes charged. So
cool. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Anybody else? Open mic.
I don't necessarily have a question, but I did want to thank Saul. He's not here right now, but I spent some time in the Amsterdam office actually today, and he helped me track down and fix a bug that affected SDK users, where the SDK was used on an Android device that had a camera on the backside only. That seems somewhat exotic, and it might be that might actually be the case. But on devices like this, that is the case. So since today, I think the PR was already merged. We're successfully able to get audio and video on that device. So again, so maybe you're looking at this at a later stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Gus. So, anybody else? There are no questions or comments. We can stop the recording.
David is asking, when is the next stable build?
I don't know. There are still few bugs and tweaks around the toolbar before we push it to stable. So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll push it to stable with the new toolbar. Okay. Thanks for the question. Going once, going twice, and we can stop the streaming.
Thanks, everybody.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thanks all. Later.